the Oklahoma City Thunder are a legit playoff team. We'll talk about why the Thunder, being the 8th seed right now, is no fluke. Coming up on today's Locked On Thunder podcast.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. I am your host, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. I'm your host, media member, and editor-in-chief over at ThunderousIntentions.com, and this is Locked On Thunder, your team every day. Subscribe across all podcasting platforms, including on YouTube, because on today's show, brought to you by Ultimate GM, we're going to tell you why the Thunder are legitimately in the mix for the
playoffs.
This is no fluke. This is no fluke. The Thunder should be going to the
playoffs
by the end of the season. That's right, folks. This show's brought to you by Ultimate GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NBA GM and managing your basketball franchise? Then this game is definitely for you. To download the game, just visit ultimatebasketballgm.com or look it up on the App Store. Our listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when you use the code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game. The Thunder are legit, folks. Since 2023, the Thunder are 3rd in net rating. Overall this season, the Thunder are 34-35. If the season ended today, the Thunder would control the 8th seed in the NBA. They would have made the playoffs under the old format. Right now, they go to the play-in game. The Thunder are only 2 games back of the 5th seed because 5th and 6th are tied. So 2 games back of the 5th/6th seed. The Thunder are a full game up on the play-in tournament. They are 6 games back of the 5th worst record and 3 games back of the 6th worst record in the NBA. The Thunder already control tiebreakers over the Clippers, Portland, Dallas, and a chance for a tiebreaker over the Lakers, a chance for a tiebreaker over the Jazz, and a chance to split the season series with Golden State. The Thunder could also be a 500 team in Toronto on Thursday, which will be an emotional game and a game where you would expect SGA to play absolutely incredible. Then they have an emotional Sunday afternoon game in the Paycom Center against the Suns, where it'll be the Thunder taking on Chris Paul, taking on Bazley, and the first time that we've seen SGA play those guys. And I don't throw Bazley in there as a joke about the podcast. Like, these guys actually were really close with Bazley, and like it does matter to them to play Bazley and to play Chris Paul. But the Thunder have won 6 of their last 7 games, including 3 straight wins. And that loss was the second night of a back-to-back where they traveled to Phoenix and played the Suns and got just trounced by the Suns, but the Suns are a very good team. SGA just recorded his 38th 30-point game this season. Josh Giddey just recorded his 4th triple-double this season. And the Thunder just beat a Nets team with the defenders to limit SGA, with the relentless bodies to try to limit your best player. And it worked in the first half. The starting lineup for the Nets, you could not draw up a better starting group to try to negate what SGA does. Spencer Dinwiddie, and then it's Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Nick Claxton. Like, that is a mold, that is a team that should be able to eliminate SGA. But what does SGA do? 35 points on 50% shooting. We'll get to him coming up. And in this game, 4 lead changes, 3 ties. OKC got down 16 points in the first half. And do not let that third quarter Dort shooting barrage to cloud your judgment. The Thunder did not just shoot overwhelmingly good. They shot 45% from the floor. They shot 33% from deep. Isaiah Joe did not shoot well from beyond the arc either. 87% from free throw. The Nets shot 42, 29, and 73%. The Thunder won points in the paint, they won second chance points, they won fast break points, and they won rebounding. The Thunder forced 17 turnovers, only gave the ball away 9 times. the Thunder withstand some great runs by the Nets, including a 20-5 run by the Nets. Look, next year is going to be great for the Thunder. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fun. But it's time to talk about this year's team. Like, this year's team is a legit postseason caliber team. We just laid it out for you. Not only is everything still in front of OKC, but of those names that we just listed, if you truly do the Sam Presti line, which sounded so hokey and sounded so corny at the time, but if you truly do burn your assumptions on what this season was going to be, you forget about what you thought you knew about the NBA back in October, and you just look at the data points that we have for this season at this point in the year, you tell me whose resume is better than Oklahoma City's. You tell me what team you trust more than Oklahoma City to hold on to one of these top 10 spots. I'd love to hear it. Again, if it's just based on this season, and it's just based on the data points that we have since October 19th, and not based upon our preconceived notion of players or teams or franchises or whatever, there is not 10 better teams than OKC in the Western Conference. And I thought it was telling that before the game, Mark made it a point to make it clear that even though this team still talks about development, do not conflate development with not caring about winning. Because he said before the game, games like tonight that have weight to them, that matter in the standings, games that have this much weight to them and that guys care about, that is part of development. That is part of how you get better. That is part of how you grow as a franchise, as a player, as a team, as an everything, as a coach. Like, the Thunder want to get there. Now, if they don't get there, it doesn't make or break the franchise, it doesn't make or break this core, it doesn't make or break anything, but they want to get there. And it's good for development if they do get there. They start the third quarter down by 10 points. They end the third quarter up by 8. And every night, somebody steps up. Most nights, somebody steps up. You have SGA, who can be an electric scorer, can get you 30 points in his sleep. And then off of SGA, it'll be J-Dub to score 25 points. It'll be a Josh Giddey triple-double. It'll be a 5 3-point third quarter from Lou Dort. It'll be Isaiah Joe, who goes 6 for 11 from 3. Like, somebody supplements what SGA does. Somebody gets a energetic, change momentum play. Somebody is able to fill in the gaps. And the Thunder are a game away from 500. So if you truly do look at Sam Presti's vision, look at Sam Presti's save your prediction, burn your assumption stuff, which again, at the time sounded, like a great line, but like nothing tangible. But if you take it in a tangible way, I would ask again, who is it that you think will succeed OKC and supplant them as a postseason team? Especially now with the clarification, if you needed it, that the Thunder do view this as a part of development, of making the play, making the playoffs, whatever you want to call it, as a part of development, or at least playing tangible games of consequence down the stretch of a season as part of development. There are so many reasons to be excited about the future of this Thunder team, and the future is now. It's now. The future is both now, as in Thursday, when they could get to 500, but also you still have something to look forward to of next season, whenever Chet is back and whenever this roster is whatever fleshed out it is, and by fleshed out it could just mean, hey, a year of development, an off-season development for these guys. Which, the rookies, of course, we don't know this for sure, but like we've seen SGA every single summer take a new leap in something. This year it was defense. What if next year it's 3-point shooting? Who knows? We've seen Josh Giddey get better rookie year to sophomore year. We know the work ethic of the Jalen Williams is. We know, how Ousmane Dieng can progress in a lot of ways this summer. Like, there's exciting times ahead, but there's also exciting times right now. And I love the fact that the Thunder use the Haka Claxton in this game just to try to negate him or to try to get him off the court. of, hey, we understand there's a big size discrepancy, but if we can hack a Claxton, maybe, then we can go back to playing our style of basketball, which included Ousmane Dieng playing the center at points in this game. But this game showed you how legit OKC is, because this is the second youngest team in NBA history, the youngest team in basketball right now, only ahead of last year's Thunder team in terms of like age, and that's why they're not the youngest team in NBA history. They just came off of 2 very impressive weekend wins, which we described on yesterday's podcast. They're playing a team that should be set up to handle them defensively and to limit their offense. They got punched in the mouth, but not knocked out. They got off the rope, and they got to win. And you're heading into a massively important game Thursday, both emotionally and for the standings and for your record. And to this point, we've seen what these guys are made of in big moments like that. We've seen what these guys can do against the defending champions at home whenever you need the win. We've seen what these guys can do with their backs against the wall. You don't think that these guys are going to be hyped up for Thursday and wanting to go win one for Shai in Toronto? They absolutely are going to want to go out there and play their best. And when the lights get the brightest, when they're on national television and facing LeBron to go try to break the NBA scoring record, they rise up to the occasion as a young group. That's been their MO. That's been a tangible progression point of this young core. They're a core that can handle the bright lights. And Thursday, for this team only, it's a bright light type of game, because there's going to be so much emotion to wanting to win it for Shai in Toronto, wanting to win it for Lou Dort in Canada, wanting to win it, for getting to 500. All these reasons that keep stacking upon each other of why they want to win that game Thursday. They're not going to let that consume them in a negative way. It's going to propel them, I think, in a positive way on Thursday. But this team is legit. And if the season ended today, they'd be the 8th seed. So with 15 games left or 13 games left or whatever many games left there are in the season, it's time to stop treating this like a fun little story and treat this the way it is. The Thunder should be in the
playoffs.
We'll talk about SGA. We'll talk about Josh Giddey's triple-double. We'll talk the Jalen Williamses coming up. But first, I want to tell you right now, my good friends over at the Ultimate Pro Basketball GM, I am really geeked out about our new partner and sponsor today, which is the Ultimate Pro Basketball GM game. If you've ever dreamed of being an NBA GM and managing your basketball franchise, your dream can come true with this game. It is definitely for you. You manage every strategical aspect of your team. You play through the season and lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches and assistants, for trading and training players, making draft picks, navigating your franchise through free agency and the draft, the ups and downs of a season. All of this in a challenging, realistic game world. It's the Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. It is completely free and playable offline, or you can play on the go. You can do what you want and as you want, when you want. So go there right now. We all love it, folks. As a peek behind the curtain, we have a league for the Locked On host, and we are all playing and competing for who can win the most championships with a nice little prize, I might add, for whoever can win the most championships in a certain amount of time. So it's addicting for all of us. I can tell you, young, old host, everyone in between, gamers, non-gamers, whatever it is, we've all gotten addicted to this game. You will too if you check it out today. So check it out, because Locked On Thunder listeners get 100% free boost up to their franchise when you use the code Locked On in the game store. So make sure you check it out today. That is Locked On, all caps. Go there right now. Download the Pro Basketball GM game by going to probasketball.gm.com. That's probasketballgm.com. And make sure you check it out today. That's Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. We're talking SGA. He is special, folks. 35 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 10 for 12 from the line, 1 for 1 from 3, 50% from the floor. He played 36 minutes today and just gutted this game out. Just gutted through it. Like he looked as though he was in pain. He's obviously dealing with that abdominal strain, which is not going away. And with that pain, the Nets were able to play very physical with SGA. Like the bottom line is, the whistles were not going for OKC in the first half, and the Nets got to be aggressive. The Nets got to use their length and their size at the rim, and still, it did not take SGA out of his game. Like, the fact that he shot 50% from the floor and has been doing this for such a large sample size, because remember, this stretch goes back to the last 13 games of last year. Like, this is sustainable. This is repeatable. SGA is just an unbelievable, efficient scorer, and that's never going to change. You know, in terms of his prime, like he's as his prime, he's going to be an efficient scorer and able to get his buckets and able to get to his spots and able to score at a high clip while also doing it efficiently. Because if this Nets team could not give him absolute fits, and that was a good Nets team defensively, that was a Nets team that was locked in, that was a Nets team that wanted to win, that was a Nets team that was playing very well coming into this game, if this Nets team could not give him fits, I continue to struggle the team that can do it night in and night out. Because to this point, we've seen Andrew Wiggins defend Shai really well. We've seen Memphis, when fully healthy, of having Steven and Brandon Clark and Tillman and all these guys that they can throw at you with their length down low, give SGA trouble. We've seen the Miami zone defense give SGA trouble. And the Miami zone defense is extremely hard to duplicate because it's not just a zone defense. It's the fact that they play the zone defense in such a disciplined way, in such a way where there's no lapses. Because if you don't typically run zone and then just try it out, SGA can pick it apart. But it's the crispness of the way that the Heat run the zone that was able to give him some trouble in terms of turnovers in the 2 games that they played him this year. But the other games where he's been given trouble, besides Andrew Wiggins, it's teams that are built upon length and built upon size, and that's hard to just change your entire franchise for defending one guy. But the Nets are a franchise that has that formula. They have some incredible perimeter defenders, some incredibly lengthy guys like Bridges, like Johnson, like Dorian Finney-Smith, who's one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, and the Claxton down low to protect the rim. And SGA went for 35 points on 50% shooting. And he did eventually get to the line 12 times. But if you watch the game, he was not getting those calls early on. And it didn't throw off his rhythm. It didn't force him to panic. It didn't force him to change his game. He just continued to chip away. And the bottom line is, this is a star-driven league, and if you continue to chip away, things will eventually go your way because you're a star. And SGA has that quality. SGA has that it factor. And it's just fun to watch night in and night out. Let's talk Josh Giddey. A triple-double for him. 15 points, 10 assists, 13 rebounds, 2 steals. He shot 36% from the floor. But I say that to highlight all the great things that he did while not shooting efficiently, while not shooting great. He continued to, as I mentioned with Shai, chip away and just get lost in the game and not lost in, I've missed 2 straight shots, I should really calm down here. And turnovers have been a big highlight for him, of fans have really hammered in how many turnovers he has a game. He had 1 turnover in this game, and it was a turnover that I do not consider a turnover in the sense of as a ball handler. He went for a rebound, he fought for a rebound and lost the fight against 3 Nets. They poked it away from him. That's not a turnover in the sense of a playmaker. So as a playmaker, he had 0 turnovers and 10 assists. He had 13 rebounds, 2 steals, and 15 points. He was incredibly elated after he made that 3, which felt like the dagger. Obviously, it was the dagger. He let a huge scream, and that is a 3. Now, we'll never know this, right? This is going to be playing the results of if it does or doesn't happen. But that is the type of 3 and the type of emotion off of that 3 that can catapult a 5 great game stretch or 10 stretch, a stretch of 10 straight great games. Like something about that emotionally felt like a tipping point for Josh. And again, I'll fully admit, this will be playing the results of if it does happen, we'll refer back to this moment, we'll refer back to this podcast. If it doesn't happen, we'll forget about it and move on and never talk about it again. So I'll admit that on the entirely front end. But that could be a play that we look back on. And so monitor that moving forward. I think that each and every game, and of course season to season, but more what is it, macroly or microly, whatever it is. I failed every math class I've ever taken. More so in the weeds, he has gotten better game to game at ball handling. And he put on a pretty move to get to the rim in this one, using his handles to get to the rack. And like that is something that I think can continue to get better game to game, but also take a whole summer to get really, really good at. Because you see in this game, when he is attacking hard downhill, that creates so much for him. Not only as a big body player to get an and one or a big body player to finish at the rim, but as a passer. Because he's so elite at passing, if he's attacking you relentlessly downhill, that opens up spray outs to wide open three-point shooters. That opens out dump offs to a team that is just cutting non-stop and is always going to have somebody following the ball. Like, it creates so much as a scorer and as a passer that it can really revolutionize the way the Thunder play basketball offensively. If he continues to get better at ball handling and he continues to get better at going downhill in an aggressive style. He had the give-and-go slam on the second possession of the game that sparked the timeout by the Nets. He had the rebound over 3 Nets was just crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Because, again, this is a big Nets team. The spinning layup has become just a staple of Josh Giddey's game. He got the floater to go in this one. And just the energy that he provided. We talked about the loud scream after the three. But also he had a massive, just incredible fist pump. I'm not sure if it got on television or not. But a massive fist pump after SGA's and one in the mid-range where they took it off because they called it on the floor. But still, like, he was providing that spark, providing that energy. Like, there was a time where the ball got deflected out of bounds and it was Thunder ball, and he starts clapping it up and starts kind of getting guys hyped. And like, that is just leadership qualities that is great to see from a 20-year-old finding his voice as a high-level communicator, as a high-level kind of leader on the Thunder roster. Let's talk Jalen Williams's. Let's talk Lou Dort, all coming up. But first, I want to tell you right now, head on over to FanDuel.com/LockedOn, folks, because it is incredible. It's America's #1 sports book. It's a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 if you are a brand new customer. That's bonus bets back if your first bet does not win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you bet on everything from the money line to the point spread to three-pointers drained to the highest score. You can do all of that, plus FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So do not miss a chance to get your no-sweats first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to learn more. Make every moment more at FanDuel.com. And let's go there right now because, folks, it is March Madness season. Let's talk March Madness, and the West Virginia Mountaineers are 2.5-point favorites against Maryland. I'm taking the Terps plus 2.5. You can go over there and bet on FanDuel.com/LockedOn. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Subscribe for free across all podcasting platforms so you never miss an episode, including on YouTube. Let's talk J-Dub. And one baseline dunk, and that was one of the first plays that the building got into the game. One of the first plays that started to trend the momentum toward the Thunder after that 20-5 run by the Nets. Another example we talked about yesterday, the absolute calmness for a rookie. At the end of the half, buzzer going down, and to get that buzzer-beating putback to put the Thunder down just 10, heading into the third quarter, heading into their best frame. Like, there's just something psychologically and mentally about being down, okay, down 10, it is what it is. This is our best quarter coming up versus even 12. Like, it's something about it. And to have that poise and composure to understand how much time's on the clock, how much time you have to get the putback off, and also not giving up on the play. Like, I think it was Josh, like, that had the initial shot. Josh goes to the rack relentlessly. The time's ticking off. He's got to make something happen in transition and throws up a layup. Most guys will just stand around and watch and hope that shot goes in. J-Dub was trailing that play the entire way, never gave up, never assumed that the ball would not ricochet back to him with time on the clock. He went and did his job all the way through the final buzzer, and it resulted in 2 free points. And had this game been decided by 2 points, that's a big swing. And it still was a big swing to get you down by 10 at a nice more obtainable number heading into the half, and just giving you some life heading into the half to come out in the third quarter, come out on fire, and eventually swing that from down 10 to up 8 by the end of the third quarter. I mention it all the time because I think it's worth mentioning. Jalen Williams does literally everything. And as a rookie who comes in, he's a lottery pick, multimillionaire. He's a guy that has been on an absolute heater scoring the basketball. He doesn't have to go and scrap down low for rebounds and fight tooth and nail for an extra possession and fight tooth and nail for a putback through traffic and getting hacked. Like, he doesn't have to do that. He can be the prima donna lottery pick. That's not his game. Like, he still does everything from the flashy stuff like a skyhook to scrapping for a rebound to playing hard-nosed defense to getting a steal and a slam and an and one to shooting a three. Like, he does everything. Like, there's not a single thing that J-Dub does not do. And it's awesome to watch. 23 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 6 for 6 from the line, 1 for 2 from 3, 6 for 10 overall shooting. He's learning how to use his body and length so well to figure out not only how to score, but how to effectively score in the sense of not just like shooting percentage, but like, how do I get from point A to point B while limiting the defense's ability to contest my shot, while also figuring out how to put the ball in the basket. Like, he's able to calculate all this stuff in real time as a rookie. Like, he's able to shield out the defender. He talked about how he understood on that skyhook, like, hey, Claxton jumped late. I'm going to need to kind of adjust how I'm going to shoot this ball into the hoop, and it goes in. Like, he's able to figure those things out thanks to his gift of lengthy arms and gift of athleticism, and he's also finding out and maturing of like how to use all those things effectively. And it's not just Oklahoma City people anymore, and it's not just the national media going, he could be a nice little player. Like JJ Redick, who's become an authority on basketball over the last 12 months, tweeted out today that J-Dub is a potential star. A potential star. Now remember, we've been hearing since training camp, like Kenny Williams said that J-Dub was a potential all-star, and now JJ Redick, national media, one of the most popular national media members out there right now, talking about basketball, and a former player, called J-Dub a star. Like, it's catching on. Like, it is a movement that is alive and well and is catching on, not just locally. Got to give Lou Dort his flowers. I mean, what a third quarter it was for Lou Dort. And this is what I'm talking about whenever I say everybody finds a way to step up. Lou Dort has been in quite the cold streak, quite the slump. There's been quite the takes about Lou Dort. And I've talked about him. I've talked about how, what his role is best moving forward, what kind of we can see from him next year, and why he's struggling, why he will or won't break out of this. You can go back and listen to all those podcasts. In this third quarter, he hits like 3 straight threes, makes it a 1-point game. Then it's a 3 in transition heat check. Hits the 5th third quarter 3. He hit 5 of them in the quarter. 5 third quarter threes. And it gives OKC the lead. He finishes this game with 24 points, 9 rebounds, an assist, a steal, 6 for 11 from 3. 56% from the floor. That huge 3-point onslaught allowed the Thunder to win this game. Shot 43%, is shooting 43% this year on corner threes. And one other area real quick, besides just turning the game in the third quarter, he continues to look much improved in rim decision-making in the sense of passing. Like, he's still out there in finishing, and I am compassionate towards the fans who do not want to hear that he can get better at rim finishing, because he has not to this point. He's not even gotten better in the slightest bit in terms of rim finishing. But I do want to see an offseason from him fully healthy, because remember last offseason he had this shoulder injury. But in terms of rim decision-making and passing out of rim looks, he has gotten better in a big way at that. And decision-making whenever he's driving toward the basket, he's gotten a lot better at that in terms of passing out of those situations. But he turned the game in the third quarter with those threes. He absolutely turned the game on its head and got the Thunder this win. And when you have a superstar playing the way that SGA is, when you have consistently good play from J-Dub, when you have what Josh Giddey can provide you, and then you just have somebody step up and do something each and every night that is eye-popping, that is how it all totals and adds upon itself to a win. Because guys are always stepping up. Jay Will and Ousmane Dieng also played good basketball. Like Jay Will, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, some great passes, and some that didn't lead to an assist. Like, he had a fantastic whip pass to Ousmane Dieng, created a wide open 3 for Ousmane Dieng, and I just don't think that Ousmane was ready for it, because he caught it, hesitated, shuffled his feet, traveled, and it was kind of an empty possession at that point. But had he just caught it in rhythm and shot the ball, he'd be wide open from 3. 1 for 2 from 3, and he started the game with a 3, and the crowd just started screaming boom after he hit the 3. Like, I hope that really catches on with the crowd. Like, the crowd needs to embrace the boom whenever Jay Will hits a 3. And then took another charge on this one. I was really doing the dirty work, and I talked at nauseam on yesterday's podcast about how it's impressive to watch a guy want to take that punishment night in and night out. So I asked Lou Dort about it. I asked J-Dub about it. And J-Dub told me, in sort of a J-Dub joking way of like, I'm glad that J-Will does it so I don't have to. But I don't think he was joking in the sense of like, it's not true. I think it is true. I think that taking a charge and doing that kind of work is something that guys don't want to do typically. It's like taking out the trash. Like, you got to do it. You got to take out the trash, but no one wants to do it. So if you have a guy in your apartment complex or your roommate or your significant other or whatever who volunteers, hey, I'm going to take the trash out every single Sunday, every single Monday, every single Tuesday, I'm going to take the trash out, and takes that off of your back, like, that is huge. That is a huge bonus to you. And for Lou Dort, he told me that, as a point of attack, perimeter defender, I'm going to get beat sometimes. And whenever I get beat, to know that J-Will's back there and willing to put his body on the line to kind of make up for getting beat and to end the possession, like, that's huge. That's a huge boost to the team. It's also, of course, a huge energy play. Like, J-Will deserves a lot of credit for that, even though I think he gets it on Twitter in the sense of, like, it's exciting when it happens because, like, you're just, at this point, counting down or counting up how many charges he gets in a game. But, still, the nitty-gritty of, like, getting the charge deserves a lot of credit because that is just tough punishment to take in the NBA. Ousmane Dieng, I think his box score was the worst it's been in quite some time. Like, I'd have to go back and look, but like, the box score did not pop out the way it did against San Antonio. But I think that these minutes were still good for him. He had some really great activity, had some really nice cuts, and even played some center minutes in this one. But he was just more involved in plays. And the shots didn't fall. The shots didn't go in the way they had been in the last couple of games. But the activity and the purpose of what he was doing on the floor was there. And sure, he had some mistake plays, as we mentioned, the J-Will pass. But like, all in all, you expect that from a teenage lottery pick. Like, you expect that. But all in all, he played with a really good purpose and played with really good activity that you can build something around. MVP this game, I have to give it to SGA because of all the games to be an efficient 35-point per game score. To do it this game against Brooklyn just means a lot to me. So I'm going to have to put SGA as MVP. Next up, tomorrow's show, we're going to have a mailbag podcast. Leave your questions on Twitter or on YouTube at Ryland_Styles, at Locked On Thunder on YouTube. Friday, we're going to recap that Raptors contest as well. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball each and every day. And until tomorrow, be good and be good to one another.